Hi everyone, this is Cheryl from Noati's Art, and I'm just going to do a quick little review video here. Most of my sculpting up to this point has been either with polymer clay, actually the vast majority have been polymer clay. My jewelry's all generally a mix of primo clays and super sculpey, and most of my sculpture has been a 50-50 mix of super sculpey and super sculpey firm. But I've been trying out some new clays over the past few months. The Embrace of the Deep sculpture, the one that is the tentacle holding the heart. If you haven't seen it, check it out on my Etsy shop or on my Facebook page. There's pictures of it there. The Embrace of the Deep sculpture was done with Chavant NSP, which is non-sulfur plastilina clay, and it's okay, I like it, but it's really sticky on the tools. And I had a lot of people recommend that I should try Monster Clay. So I bought a 5-pound tub of it. You can see I've taken, when you get it, the tub is filled up to almost the top. I've taken a lot of it out, and it is in, and tilt the crock pot, it is in this little crock pot, just to warm up so it's, easy enough to work with. I just picked up this crock pot Sunday night, so just a couple days ago. Just a cheap little one. So I think it's a 2-quart. I can't remember the exact size, but it was under $10. That's exactly what I wanted. If I want to melt the clay and pour it into a mold to then, further refine what I'm doing, I can pull out the center, pour it out. But I don't really see myself necessarily doing that. But this is great for keeping the clay nice and warm and soft so I can add it to what I'm working on. And sorry my voice is kind of gravelly or scratchy. I was at the Portland Comic Expo on Sunday. Because it's a Comic-Con, you end up talking very loud all day, and I kind of lost my voice, so my voice is still kind of not all there. But this is a quick little piece that I started on middle of last week, right after I got the clay. Just to try it out, see how I like it. I'm just kind of in love with Monster Clay. It is fantastic. So I'm just gonna go over some of the working properties. Like I said, it's oil-based, like other plastiline clays, like Chavant, but I guess it has waxes in it, or something else that makes it really not sticky and not oily feeling, which is just fantastic. It doesn't stick to tools at all. I mean, and when it's cold, which this is, it's room temperature, or well, room temperature in October in Maine, so, mid-60s. It's really nice and firm, but it warms up with body heat really quickly to get a bit better working consistency, at least to refine details. So I can smooth it out with my fingers really well, just with body heat. And like I said, it doesn't stick to tools, so I'm just going to grab a little bit of what is actually kind of liquidy clay in the crock pot right now, because I left it on longer than I should have. And I had put it on low. Like I said, I just got this. I'm still, figuring out exactly what the right temperature is. And I think I need to keep it on the warm setting instead of low. Definitely not high unless I want to completely melt it. So let me grab just a little bit of sort of liquidy clay here. Get some liquid clay on here, and I'm just gonna smooth on the back because I'm gonna just take this clay off when I'm done. As you can see, I can just add this liquid clay, and it cools fairly quickly too, so it's okay for me to handle while it's still kind of warm. But you can see, I pulled liquid clay out of the crock pot, and that's completely liquid. See, it just dropped off. And yet, put it down, it will just come right off my wooden tools. And with, like, Chavant, sticks like crazy to your tools. You're always cleaning your tools off. So in that way, it's a lot more like polymer, in that polymer doesn't really stick to tools much. But this has the sort of not the springy texture that polymer clay has. Polymer clay tends to not... It takes detail well, but it's got kind of a, I don't know, almost a little bit of a sponginess to it. So you have to use more force to get your details. You sometimes have to go over details a few times to really get them in there. But this takes really nice, sharp detail. It takes nice... Oh, where's the camera? There's the camera. It takes like really nice, sharp details. I'll bring some up close on the horse's head. If you've looked at some of my older videos of my really early sculptures, you'll have seen a horse sculpture called Antak Ishka, which is a Scottish Kelpie, a demon horse that drags people beneath the waves. And I decided I wanted to... This is just going to be sort of re-exploring that concept, what, 6, almost 7 years since I did Antak Ishka. So, be able to see my sort of improvement. And I actually haven't even sculpted a horse since then. So this is all sort of me just improving generally as a sculptor. And this is already way better in anatomy of the horse. Though the neck muscles are still giving me trouble. But let me get out of that, because this is supposed to be my monster clay. So you get it in, it comes in this tub. This is actually a heat-safe, oven-safe tub, so if you're not going to use something like a crock pot, you can actually stick this in your oven, or in a toaster oven, to soften up the clay. You can also put it under a nice, a warming lamp, or even a desk lamp with a 100-watt incandescent bulb, or something like that. You know, a bulb that puts up a good deal of heat, and soften up the clay that way. But the crock pot is just about perfect. Do make sure if you're handling a crock pot like this, it's off, because you really don't want to burn yourself, because this ring does get kind of hot. This has been off for about, I don't know, about 15-20 minutes ago I turned it off. So the outside's really warm. Inside here's nice and, you know, still pretty hot, because this is ceramic, so it holds the heat. Which is the other nice thing with the crock pot, is that I can soften up the clay, turn it off, and then work for a long time with the clay nice and soft in here. I believe if I read the info right, this melts at about 180 degrees, so you really don't have to get it that hot at all. And when it comes out and it's warm, it's really nice and soft and plastic. Just fantastic. So this is quickly becoming a favorite clay for me. It is, you know, obviously an oil-based clay, so unlike polymer, I can't bake it and have it be permanent. I do have to, if I want to keep a piece, you know, I can put this in storage, wrap it up, and as long as nothing, you know, doesn't end up super, you know, hot, you know, melt in summer heat, or, you know, get smashed with something, it'll stay, but really have to kind of make a mold and cast it up in resin. See if I can think of any other tips working with it. Really, it you know, just about any clay tool works great with it. The silicone tip tools, this is a firm clay shaper. The softer or medium tips, oh no, this is extra firm. So the firm or medium or soft tips don't work quite as well as the extra firm. At least not when the clay is hard like this. When it's softer, it works fine. But otherwise, I mean, any of my metal tools, wood, loop tools, and it just, like I said, this is a fantastic clay to work with. It's a really fast clay to work with. Like I said, with polymer, and as much as I love polymer, it does have this sort of sponginess to it. So it does take longer to sculpt than this. This is really fast sculpting. I can really kind of build it up. Because it's got such a firm, it's so hard when it's cool, this doesn't take much of an armature. Polymer clay is notorious for you have to have a really strong armature, because while it will be fine when in its soft state, once you bake, it has a tendency to crack if it doesn't have a good armature. But this, obviously, all this has for an armature in it is, I just drilled a little hole in this piece of wood and ran up just a little loop of aluminum wire. I think it's 14 gauge, 12 or 14 gauge aluminum wire. Really soft, flexible aluminum wire. So it's not even like my heavy steel wire, armature wire. And just a little loop, that goes up through the head and then, bends at an angle for the head. And that is all that's in here for an armature. So it really doesn't take much at all. I'm not even sure it would need that much, except for it, meets right here, really narrow spot. If it is too warm, you can take these compressed air dusters and just turn it upside down. And real quick, give it a... and it will, freeze that area, and it will get even harder than it is at room temperature. And then you can really carve in fine details. I haven't done any sort of chemical smoothing with this. Usually when I use Chavant, I use Goo Gone orange oil solvent, which is fantastic. It's not as toxic as other solvents that you can use. Still, not the best, but it has, it's not super toxic and has a nice orange smell to it to, kind of melt and smooth. But I have not used that on that here yet, but it's supposed to work fine. I use 90% isopropyl rubbing alcohol on polymer clay. I feel that will not work at all on this. But I will try it out and see if it works later on when I get closer to that smoothing part. So yeah, try out Monster Clay. I think the 5 pounds ran me $30 for 5 pounds plus shipping. It does only come in either 5 pounds or 20-pound cases. So you can't get like a little, 1 pound, tester block. So you have to buy 5 pounds, but it is totally worth it. Yeah, so I think that's about all I have to say. I'll probably put up another review, I don't know, in a few months or whenever I finish this and get to the molding casting stage, and I will give you another little review about how well Monster Clay, works with the mold making process. But everything I've seen from other sculptors who use it is that it works, pretty much just as good as Chavant when it comes to molding. So yeah, that's I think I'm about done. Try Monster Clay, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.